Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening everybody, Militia Man and Crew. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday. It's a great day here in the Northwest. It's actually cooling off. The fall is arriving and getting a little bit of rain in the mountains. It's greened up, but yet it's just barely getting cooler. It's only in the 60s and the early, low 70s, but hey, it's very mild, but I like it. And so hopefully everybody's getting some good weather. Hey, there's an article that's pretty powerful when you're talking about storm systems. It's not really a storm system. It's a great day for celebration. Why? Is because it's the Prime Minister directs the National Day celebrations continue for a week. Normally this celebration is for one day, and he's extended it for a week, interestingly enough. It says the Prime Minister Sudani directed all ministries, institutions, and concerned departments to continue the celebrations of the Iraq National Day for a week in appreciation of this occasion. In order, you guys got, that was Winnie flying from one side of the room to the next. And now Wally's here to do the exact same thing. So we'll have to be watchful for it. But anyway, back to what's going on here is in appreciation of this important occasion, in order to consolidate the great meanings embodied in the souls of our honorable Iraqi people. To me, you guys, this move is atypical for this particular holiday because it's usually just normally one day. Al-Sudani seems to be feeling everybody should be celebrating for a week out to the 10th. And then again, it's going to be a long weekend. He's basically, I think he's embracing sovereignty. And what I mean by sovereignty is that you guys realize that a historical oil flow started on the 6th. No, started on the other day at about 6 a.m. I think it was the 27th. But I'm going to get into that. But that movement of oil is effectively, if it is historic, and it is part of what's taking place, and it is part of why he has extended this holiday for out to the 10th. Probably is that there's some legitimacy to that sovereignty because that movement of oil, those timestamps are really important as far as I'm concerned, and there's reasoning for that. But ultimately, having unity with the Kurdistan region and having unity with the people, that is a sign of embracing sovereignty, in my view. Basically, this happens to be a confidence booster for the international acceptance into the global economy, because the more confidence that things are going good in Iraq and even in the Middle East is a very good sign. And investors are not going to come in to Iraq if there's problems. And collectively over the last 3 years, it's just gotten better and better and better and better. And even today, it's still showing to be very calm, cool, and collected in Iraq. And that's really big. So all of these things that we've been talking about are effectively convergences of late that have been all timed accordingly. Because when I say timed accordingly, if you'll notice and remember, some of these specific things that have taken place have been on specific time frames. In my last video, we talked about it. In my, I think my Q&A that is in Patreon with live stream, you guys can find some of those questions that I answer. So if you guys are not involved in Patreon yet and you want to be, you're more than welcome to come in, because I'll do some live streams, Q&As, where you can actually talk to me directly and ask me some questions if you'd like to do that. I know that everybody does in different formats, but ultimately you get me on live camera to ask me questions and get the answers. And it turned out this last one, there was a lot of folks. We got some work to do on it, but we'll dial it in to where that it's maybe a little bit shorter, but a little more, consistent. But ultimately, Gigi our admin does a fantastic job, and we have an amazing amount of information that we draw from, which is from Super Samson. And she knocks it out of the park on a regular basis. And I think those of you in Patreon and in Discord know what I'm talking about. So kudos on that. And by the way, today was fun because I asked the crew in this article right here was the number one that they wanted me to talk about, and that's why I'm doing it. And there's another one that second place is going to be next. But everybody, all you guys that engaged and had your input, each and every one of you, thank you very much. It was fun, and we'll do it again. But anyway, if you think about these convergences of late, and apparently they've been timed accordingly, like I said, you have the banking, you have the escada, you have the oil flow, and now an extension to 1 day holiday with a long weekend attached to it. I mean, to be fair, you really can't make this kind of stuff up. It's because it is a progression, so they didn't make it up. Well, I didn't make it up, they did. And so it's fascinating. And so there's a snippet, basically National Day extended for a week, and they tell you about, it goes back as far as 1932. But ultimately, Soudani's directive extends to manifestations of a celebration for a full week through October 10th. And what the snippet basically says, this is unusual. And the standard is a single day off. So adding that extra time is obviously a move and on purpose. And they'll be able to have cultural shows, military parades, etc. They'll have sovereignty emphasis. That's basically Soudani's entrenched his great meetings with unity and pride, ties it in, which echoes September 2025 historic agreement, which was the 18 years of ensuring fair distribution of their wealth. That's what this oil agreement's about. Framing the oil restart. Well, the flows started September 27th. And what did they ship out? They shipped out, 650,000 barrels of oil, as in a modern sovereignty win. I mean, that's what they're doing. It's a win. Federal control over the KRG, which is about 190,000 barrels a day through the SOMO export, which is about 50,000 domestic, and at $16 a barrel for the escrow fees. And ultimately, it ends 18 years of disputes as far as that goes. And then again, the holy day timing. It technically dates back to the 16 Dhul Hijjah, if I get it right, 16 from 1447 AH, post-Hajj season, making it a holy day with prayers and family focus. Extending to a week through Friday, October 10, is a weekend, turns it into a long weekend. Like I said, it's a bridge, allowing nationwide events, which included parades, cultural shows, and it also mentions without disrupting work days, because it's not going to just shut everything down. So they're going to be just having a good time. They're going to still work, but they'll still have party time, if you will, for that length of time. And so ultimately, here's this article that says the first shipment of Kurdistan regional oil was sold through the port of Cyan after the resumption of exports. I just touched on a little bit of that already. It says that the first shipment of Kurdistan regional oil after the resumption was on at 12 noon today. The first shipment of oil went through 650,000 barrels a day. Basically, what I'm getting at is I find the fact that this news is showing the chronological times of events, because that's what they've been doing. They told us a few days ago that it got started at 6 o'clock in the morning, then it got delivered at 7:07, and then the end result was that they finished the process for this particular historic deal happened today, same day as Al-Sudani extended it for 10 days. We talked about sovereignty. Having an international currency would be part of that sovereignty. Do they have it yet? Well, no, but are they probably getting it? I would assume they are. That's the impression I get from it. That's the impression. And so basically, what they have done, and remember when I said sold, that means that they sold it and it's been delivered, and that was today, sold and delivered. Now, remember, there was only one article that talked about this. It was through a Swiss company. And in my opinion, what I think is there's a couple of Swiss companies that do digital trade. We know that Al-Alak had been to Bank of England, working to get the nod, if you will, for the Bank of International Settlements. They come back to what I've told you guys before about the Agora project. You can come into Patreon, you can find that. We're on record of it. And that's talking about central bank digital currencies in a digital format. So ultimately what I'm saying here is that did they do a digital trade? We don't know. But if they did, it would be pretty powerful, because most likely, what I would believe, if that was the case, they would be doing that in a digital dinar. I'm not saying they did do it that way, but that's what it appears that they could have, or they will be in the future. So, could be a test pilot, don't know. But there are companies in Switzerland that do digital commodity trading, and oil trade is one of those things. And there's a couple of companies out there, and I think I've mentioned them in the past. So keep that in mind. Another article here is an economist outlines 5 benefits for Washington in supporting the Baghdad herbal oil agreement. Economic expert Marsomi, he identifies 5 benefits. He talks about resuming oil exports helps offset potential decline in Iranian oil exports, which Washington said it will reduce to 0 as part of the Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign against Iran. He says the second benefit of the support is to limit the smuggling of Iraqi oil to Turkey and Iran. Now, if you think about it, you guys, there was that article that I mentioned about the Kurdistan region having a decision. It was law number 1 for 2021. They rescinded that, and they did that because it was illegal for them to be doing what they did in 2021, and it became illegal in 2022. And so they've been doing things wrong since 2022 or before that, but they got tapped for that legal issue. So to clean up that issue, they had to get rid of that law, and they in the Kurdistan region. I believe that's how that works. And so that took place yesterday or the day before. And so that was a big article, and it's in Patreon. I didn't do a big brief on it, but I did some comments in the comment section. So if you read down, there's a little bit of it on there. So it says the ministry stated in a statement, oil export operations have resumed without any technical issues, so that oil flow is done, good. Well, it says that the resumption of oil exports reflects the success of cooperation between the federal government and the Kurdistan regional government. And obviously that includes the IOCs, the international oil companies. It says the resumption of oil exports is a significant step towards enhancing the management of national wealth and ensuring the sustainability of exports. So I think you guys can probably hear Wally agrees. He's probably pretty happy about that. So U.S. and Iraqi officials. Washington seeks to ensure, on the same topic, but it's a little bit different. Washington seeks to ensure Baghdad herbal oil agreement is long-term. The administration of the U.S. President Donald Trump is working to ensure the continued flow of exports from the Kurdistan region of Iraq, and which resumed after a 2-year hiatus for the long term. This is to bolster the country's economy, generate gains for American companies, and counter Iranian influence in the region. So you can see a little different spin on it, but it's focusing in on the United States State Department official saying the United States is focused on ensuring the implementation of the oil export agreement and fulfilling its financial obligations. Washington has been working over the past weeks to bring international oil companies with the Iraqi and Kurdish governments, an effort that included hundreds of phone calls and meetings to pave the way for reaching this agreement. So they've been obviously very busy, especially if they're having hundreds of phone calls. The United States' role in resuming shipments through the pipeline to Turkey's Mediterranean coast also enhances the agreement's long-term sustainability, according to the website. It says we will deliver tangible benefits to both American and Iraqis while reaffirming Iraq's sovereignty. Hence, I said sovereignty when I talked about Iraq. Prime Minister al-Sudani. Iraqi and Kurdish officials said that the U.S. pressure was a decisive factor in reaching the export agreement, and Washington is now seeking to transform it into a long-term agreement that also protects the interests of American companies, according to the Ashark website. So keep in mind, you guys, this agreement is somewhat short-term. It's not like 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. This deal between it dates back many, many, many years. I don't remember how many, but it's probably decades between Iraq and Turkey. And it's up on, I think it's in July of 2026. That's what they're talking about. So this isn't something that we're worrying about at the moment. But obviously, if, you know, British Petroleum's in there, Chevron, ExxonMobil, American companies, HKN, Western Zargos, they're all putting hundreds of billions of dollars into Iraq for investment purposes. If they thought they were going to be shut down sometime in July of next year, you can pretty much shake your head and say they wouldn't do that. And I know some people that are in the know, and they wouldn't do that. The fact that the U.S. has been working over the past few weeks to bring international oil companies with the Iraq Kurdish governments together, whereby that hundreds of phone calls show the importance of what took place. The pressure was applied, was decisive, and a key factor in getting the deal done. Now they're going to work to make it long term, as the oil deal with Turkey is only about, like I said, out to 2026. And if I'm not mistaken, they'll make a deal anytime between now and then. I think they can make a deal at any time. I'm pretty sure that's in print. I think I know it is. So anyway, that's powerful news, you guys. The United States is putting the pressure, and the United States' help with, they say, hundreds of phone calls. We're bread and butter, man. Iraq, a promising economic destination for Arab and foreign investment, was an article that at one of the rooms. It wasn't the number 2, but here it is tonight, you guys, for those that you wanted me to touch on it. Iraq is currently witnessing a qualitative shift in its economic development, making it an attractive environment for investors from around the world. Iraq has become a preferred destination for companies and businessmen, given its significant economic and tourism potential, coupled with government efforts to create a favorable investment climate. It is pretty powerful article. Matter of fact, this is definitely in the top running as far as I'm concerned. The chairman of the Turkish-Iraqi Business Council, Khaled Hakar, said that the volume of trade exchange between Iraq and Turkey has reached $16 billion, and we're seeking to increase it to $30 billion. And this is why that's really powerful, is because Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization will contribute to developing the volume of trade domestically and internationally, and will enable Turkish companies to contribute to the growth and development of Iraqi trade. Now, this is coming from the Iraqi Business Council. For him to invoke the WTO and suggesting that they're going to just about double their trade with accession, that's what it reads to me. It doesn't specifically say it that way, but it says Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization will contribute. Okay, so that's close enough for me to, if they're going to go from 16 billion to 30 billion, I think that's pretty powerful. Even if it's not even all of it, it's big. So as he goes on and says, we're ready to contribute to supporting development in the construction, health, digitalization, and other sectors. Interesting. Energy moving, commodities moving, digitally. Okay, sounds very interesting. Okay, it says this gentleman by the name of Al Jarba, Iraqi Saudi Business Council, says that the investment forum held in Baghdad was important and successful, and we witnessed clear satisfaction among Arab investors, as well as investors coming from East Asia and several other countries. It says a large number of influential businessmen in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia participated in this forum, which means that Iraq has become an important destination and a clear choice for investors. The Iraqi government is serious about its work to combat corruption and confront anyone who attempts to serve the state or exploit its authority, and this bodes very well. We've been talking about confidence, and obviously this article just reeks of confidence for investing in Iraq right now. Why? Because the economic environment is perfect. They've got, I think they're saying that between now and 2050, 60% of their population will be under the age of 30, all the way out through 2050. That's a long time. That's a lot of people for work. That's good for business. All of these things are probably helping to get Al-Alaq's nod to join the BIS, which includes the G7. And then you have to think about that Agora project. That's why I say convergence is like it's such a web. It is so different than most people think. It's so much more advanced than anything I've ever seen before in my life. But it's fascinating, but it's in real time, and it's happening before our eyes as far as I can tell. I think everybody can that's paying attention. Okay, ultimately it says that Iraq is a great civilized country. Of course, I believe that. Diverse tourist attractions, especially in the regions like Karbala, Najaf, and Kadima, if I said that right, which attracts, I doubt it, which attracts visitors from all over the world. Okay. Anyway, there's an expectation from Turkey that a cession to the WTO would be contributing to factor in raising the trade volume of 16 billion to 30 billion. And, you know, to me, what does the chairman of the Turkey Business Council know? I think he likely knows what the inevitable is, and I think that's Iraq's secession. As we noticed, there was more recent comments from Australia on the matter in support of Iraq's secession. And then lastly tonight, we're going to talk about the CBI governor reports progress on the banking reform. It's going to be really brief. Central Bank of Iraq Governor Ali Mushan al-Alaq has underlined the pivotal role of the banking sector in supporting investment in Iraq. The CBI has achieved its objectives, so it's achieved its objectives on banking reform and has begun implementing them according to set timelines. Did we not talk about all kinds of timelines? And that's exactly what they're doing. And he's saying the CBI has achieved its objectives on banking reform and has begun implementing them according to set timelines. And I think one of our members, Jim Plants, was looking for this one. Maybe it wasn't, but I looked for you, my friend. But this is the closest I could find to that, and I think it sets well. And then kudos to you guys, again, back in Patreon for all your help and your excitement about some of these articles. There is more to the story than may meet the eye. Al-Alaq has met his objectives on the banking reforms, as noted by the 81 bank branches we saw the other day, meeting international standards, at least real close. There were timelines set for yesterday with Oliver Wyman. Well, that was on the 30th, to be fair. And Iskutta. Today, the CBI has been met with objectives. But be sure there's more timely issues that are more important than many may know or even have considered, just as the historical deal with the region in the center that took place a few days ago. Most people didn't consider that. This statement by the CBI seems to hint of joining the BIS may be in the cards more than ever thought. That's my view. Meeting international standards is very important to the Bank of International Settlements, just as it is to the United States Treasury. The U.S. Treasury has been vocal over the last 2 to 3 days on currency manipulation. I got emails from the U.S. Treasury talking about that. Namely to the Swiss, who countered and said, "Well, we're willing to play ball," and also with Korea. Talking about they weren't being considered currency manipulators; they were just being friendly reminded to play by the rules. The Swiss, the SNB of Korea, both trading partners with Iraq. And interestingly enough, there's a piece out today about Samsung. Samsung, is, I believe, and Hyundai are going to be doing deals as long as other technical deals in Iraq. There's an article that talks about that. And one of the things about Samsung, they're hooking up with Coinbase here in the United States for trade. Okay, so think about it. Both trading partners with Iraq. Okay, we know that. And so, yeah, think about it deep on how that could work out. And I really think that what I got to as far as when they talk about digitalization, well, isn't that what central bank digital currencies are? I think they are. And so all the technologies that they're going to use that are more advanced than ever before. And you'll see, I think you'll see articles that there's a company out there that's competing with SWIFT, and SWIFT is going to be challenged in the future, probably because of the fact that it's somewhat antiquated and slow. But nonetheless, there's going to be some competition. Competition's a good thing. And we see that Iraq is doing the exact same thing with companies coming in so that they can build out the private sector, which is competition. And that is fascinating. And that's what we have for you tonight. So thank you for being with me. And please don't forget, if you like this content, help us keep going, hit that like button. And also don't forget, I have PayPal. Venmo is still not quite working for me yet. But everybody, please, thank you for your patience. And I do appreciate you helping me keep this channel going, because if it wasn't for some of your help, it wouldn't be happening. Thank you very much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.